Welcome aboard. You've just hopped in a helicopter off the beach at Smelt Bay on Cortes Island in the northern Salish Sea. It's the lowest tide of the year, and we are flying over Subtle Point Reef, one of three of the most spectacular marine reef ecosystems in the Salish Sea. What you're looking at is 30 to 40 million years of Ice Age sediments that were depressed below sea level during the last glacial maximum. This area then rebounded greater than 100 meters, relatively rapidly, when the glaciers retreated. Cortes Island probably extended to the outer limits of the reef, but over the years, waves eroded away sand and mud, leaving behind larger sediments, boulders, cobble, and gravel. Just coming into view on the upper reef are three of these large boulders. It's an area I call the octopus's garden. Octopus love these reefs. They need the oxygen-rich waters to support their rapid growth. Our octopus are the largest in the world, reaching up to 7 meters arm spread and 70 kilograms in weight. The most prominent feature on the reef is an enormous central tide pool that fills on the flood tides and empties on the ebb tides. The rim of the tide pool, for most of its circumference, is made up of cobble rocks, approximately the size of cantaloupe, piled 2 and 3 high. The spaces between the rocks are filled with living organisms thriving in this constant flow of water, oxygen-rich, nutrient-rich. We call the spaces between the rock interstitial habitat, and we're just beginning to recognize its ecological significance. Here, on the outer front of Subtle Point Reef, if you look closely, you will see harbor seals hauled out everywhere. These reefs are important haulouts and breeding rookeries for the harbor seal, which in turn is primary prey for the bigs, killer whales. These reefs are also critical feeding and resting habitat for seasonally migrating shorebirds. Every spring and fall, these reefs are a riot of shorebirds. Just take one last look at this spectacular reef system, Subtle Point Reef. We've just flown over to Hernando Island, southeast of Cortes Island. Hernando Reef showing similar reef structures to Subtle Point Reef. And coming into view is this beautiful large tide pool tucked in on the southwest corner of Hernando. Hernando Reef has extensive terraces of upper intertidal that are just coming into view. And these provide prime habitat for a very unusual fish, the plainfin midshipman. It's a deep-sea fish, has no scales, spawns intertidally, and loves to sing. In the spring, male and female midshipmen excavate nests under rocks, the females attaching 200 to 500 eggs on the rock, and then she leaves, the males remaining to guard the eggs throughout the summer. The prominent feature on Hernando Reef is something I call the Grand Staircase. If you look to the left, the upper intertidal is covered in brown seaweed, rockweed. If you look to the right, the mid-intertidal is covered in green seaweed, sea lettuce. And if you look further to the right, the lower intertidal is covered in a red seaweed, Turkish towel. The different seaweeds are delineating the intertidal zonation, the horizontal bands of distribution of fauna and flora from high to low tide. The eelgrass habitat off Hernando Reef is exceptional. If you look down, between us and the reef, you will see it here, extending all the way to Savory Island. Eelgrass is being used worldwide as an indicator of nearshore ecosystem health, and eelgrass beds provide critical foraging habitat for the great blue heron, a species at risk in British Columbia. Take one last look at Hernando Reef and notice the patchwork of tide pools over the reef where herons can be seen feeding at every tide. Welcome to Marina Reef, looking for all the world like a giant seahorse, her snout pushing into the Salish Sea a full nautical mile from the south end of Marina Island. Unique to Marina Reef is the spine, which you can see here, snaking along the reef, uninterrupted for almost the full length of the reef, and highlighted in white shell. This is coastal wolf territory, the harbor seals providing an important food source for local wolf packs. Recent research shows that greater than 75% of their diet can be marine-based. In the bays you see here on either side of the reef, sea ducks find high-quality foraging habitat. Their winter diet primarily mollusks, clams, and mussels. The incoming tides from the Pacific Ocean split on the west coast of Vancouver Island, wrapping south around Victoria and north past Port Hardy, to meet right here. The three reefs reach out into these cold, rich ocean waters, resulting in rich marine biodiversity, sensitive marine habitats with strong ecological significance. These 3 reefs, exposed for just 2 to 3 days of any year for just a few hours. Truly, intertidal wilderness.